So the most recent data suggests that buyer demand is starting to decrease. At the same time, we're seeing inventory levels increase, and we're starting to see price reductions on a lot of homes across a lot of markets. So the question is, should you buy a home in 2021? Now, I know a lot of you out there are going to start typing in the comments saying that he's a real estate agent. Of course, he's going to tell you to buy a home. It benefits him. And the reality is, my channel isn't here to tell you to buy a home or to sell a home. It's here to provide information, to provide education so that you can make informed decisions. In my career, I've told people many, many times that it's not a great time to buy a property. But now it's not so much the market that I'm worried about, it's what home buyers are doing in this market. And I think as a home buyer, if you understand some of these things, it will help you make the decision of whether or not you should buy a property. And if you like content like this, do me a favor, hit the like button, let other people see it. That's how information out there starts trending. And getting, good information in this housing market, I think, is critical in making the right decision. So today's video, we're going to dive into a couple of times when it's not a good idea to buy a property. And we're not going to focus on the housing crash, and we're not going to focus on a lot of the mainstream media out there at the moment. We're going to talk about real things that you can apply as a home buyer if you're looking to purchase a home. These are things that you should consider. I get a lot of calls from viewers. I get a lot of calls from past clients and friends and family asking about real estate, and these are the same things that we discuss in our conversations. Now, understand, my business isn't built from YouTube clients. My business has been built from past clients, friends, family. It's all relational. Very, very little of my business actually comes from YouTube. So I'm not here trying to promote myself on YouTube to get you to use me as a real estate agent. If I did that, I'd try to focus more on my local market versus making, broader videos that apply across the United States. So understand, when I'm making this video, it's there to educate you, guide you through the process, help empower you as a potential home buyer if you're looking to purchase a property. So the first thing that you should consider if you're looking to buy a property, we've talked about it, is your budget. But we're not going to talk about it in the traditional sense, right? So when you go out and you apply for a mortgage, the lender takes into consideration your debts that are on your credit report, right? That's how they determine how much you can qualify for. They take, your debts versus your income, and they say, this is the max you can qualify for based on this information. And they tell you, this is what you're approved to. And so what home buyers do, at least in my experience, is they take that amount, whatever that amount is for our conversation today, let's say it's $3,500, and then they go out and they start looking at properties based on the amount that the lender told them that they could qualify for. And they never take into consideration their budget. But understand, when a lender is qualifying you, they're just using, for one, they're using your gross income, right, before taxes. Secondly, they're using, only the debts that show up on your credit report, right? Your car payments, your credit cards, your student loans, those sorts of things. They're not taking into consideration your gas, your groceries, the money you spend on a babysitter, your nights out, your date nights with, your spouse or whoever it is. None of that stuff is considered. And so, in some of these loans, like an FHA loan, you can get up to a 56, 57% debt to income ratio, which means that 57% of your monthly income, your gross monthly income, is going towards debts every month. And, home buyers don't take the time to actually do a budget and figure out what they can truly afford to purchase. And I feel like this is a mistake. So before you go out and you try to buy a home, start from the perspective of a budget. How much disposable income do you actually have per month after your mortgage and your debts, your car payments, your credit cards, all that stuff are taken into consideration? Is that enough money for you to live? Or are you going to be house poor? I've been doing this nearly 20 years, and I've been through the last housing crash. I went through the housing crisis at that time. And I saw a lot of people become house poor, right? They could buy a lot of property. At that time, it was based on adjustable rate mortgages and interest-only loans and all of that good stuff. But they bought a lot more property than they could afford because they were allowed to do so. And what I hate seeing is people out there in this environment. House prices have been rising since 2012. Now, that doesn't mean they have to go down. That also doesn't mean that they have to go up. It's based on supply and demand. But we've seen rapid appreciation. We've seen a lot of things. And the last thing I want to see in this environment is somebody that's buying a property and not taking into consideration a real budget, right? They're just using what the lender's telling them in order to buy a house. So if you're buying a property, please keep that in mind. And the second thing I'm going to talk about today is time horizon, right? When you're buying a property, you have to come at it from a longer term horizon. I get a lot of buyers reaching out to me saying, hey, look, I want to buy a property today. I'm going to turn it into a rental property in 2 years, and I'm going to buy another property after that, and so on and so forth. They have this plan of how it's going to go. But unfortunately, we have no idea what the outlook of the real estate market actually looks like in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? There's a lot of stimulus being pumped into the economy at the moment. Interest rates are artificially low, and they're likely to stay there, but interest rates are low. At some point, those will be adjusted upward. The Fed has talked about 2023, and there's a lot of just different factors that could come into play. And when somebody tells me that they want to buy a property for 2 years or 3 years or what have you, I say stop. Let's think of this, as a longer term horizon, right? Let's think of this from a longer term perspective. I tell clients you need to buy a property 5, 7, 10-year time horizon in view. Right now, it's hard to see where you're going to be in that time frame. But if you're, a single guy and you have plans of getting married, maybe you're dating someone now, or maybe you're a girl dating a guy or what have you, and you're looking to buy a property and you're thinking, you know what, I'm just going to consider a studio. Right, because it's less expensive, I don't have to pay a lot of money for it, whatever it is, it fits within my budget. You're not thinking from the 3, 5, 7-year time horizon, right? I mean, if you're planning on getting married, you're planning on having kids in the next couple of years, you need to start factoring that stuff in. And see, what I see is a lot of people settling right now because they can't buy what they want to buy. So they're saying, you know what, if I can't buy the 3-bedroom, I'll just buy the 2-bedroom. And in 2 years, when we make some equity on this property, we'll sell it and we'll buy the next one. We'll have the money from the sale of this property. That's great if that actually works out, but we don't know what the future holds. So you need to start thinking from a longer term perspective. Start thinking, hey, listen, if me and my fiance are planning to get married, we're planning to have kids in the next 3 years, you need to start thinking what type of property you need for that. That studio that you were considering likely isn't going to work. And I see a lot of people making decisions based on what's happening right now versus what's happening a couple of years from now. And I think as a home buyer in this environment, you need to be thinking longer term. If you think that you're going to be moving in 2 years because of a job transfer or whatever, you may not consider buying property at this time unless it has the rental potential based on how much you're putting down to cover your mortgage and all that. There's a lot more that goes into it, but I wouldn't just buy property with a short-term view because it fits exactly what's going on right now. Start thinking from a longer-term horizon. So budget, longer-term horizon. The last thing we're going to talk about is reserves, money in the bank, having some additional cash outside of your down payment, your closing costs, right? Have that emergency fund in case something does happen, right? There's different variants of the virus going around at the moment. Who knows what that looks like 6 months from now, right? I never thought that the country could close down initially, right? Who thought that an entire country could stop? They could ask you not to work, not to leave the house. Not me, right? You would have asked me that a year ago or a year and a half ago. I would have said absolutely no chance that happens. So what happens again if something like this does happen and they don't have forbearance in play, or they don't have these other things in play, or maybe your job changes and you get laid off for whatever reason? You need to have additional funds. I see a lot of people right now buying property, using everything they have to try to make the down payment, try to make the closing costs because they feel like they're missing out on what's going on, right? All the news headlines are talking about housing. a lot of YouTubers out there talking about housing and appreciation and all this money being made, and people have that FOMO. They feel like they're missing something and they're buying property just to buy a property when it was never part of the original plan, and they're using every dollar they have in order to do it. So make sure you have funds set aside, for housing. I would say 3 to 6 months is probably a good number, but that's something for you to decide. But anyway, this video isn't to be negative, to tell you not to buy a house. I think owning a home is something that everyone should have the opportunity to do. There's a reason that homeowners have a 44 times greater net worth than those of renters. It's because, of times like we've seen over the last year and a half with properties appreciating, people paying down their mortgages, just the equity that's built there. And long term, that turns into a nest egg that people can use for retirement, for greater creation of wealth and what have you. And I think owning a home is a great opportunity to help you build that wealth. But you shouldn't be buying a property unless you have the foundation to do so. So make sure you're following those steps, and having a plan and sticking to it is important, especially in this environment. But it's something that you have to decide when it's right for you, not when somebody else is telling you to do it. As I mentioned earlier, my channel is all about real estate, helping guide you through the process, helping you understand the process, educating you, empowering you, guiding you through the real estate process. So if you haven't done so already, you're still here, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you want more content like this. And also would love to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on, buying a property right now? If you purchased a property this year, did you have a budget in mind? Did you max out your pre-approval, or were you a little more cautious, sticking to a budget, trying not to max it out just because you didn't want to be quote unquote house poor? But I'll continue to update you on everything with regards to buying real estate, selling real estate, investing in real estate. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate all the support and hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.